Horicon, Wisconsin. January 1988. Allen Tallmann pulls into his driveway after a night shift and sees his garage engulfed in flames. He calls 911, gets his family out, and then the fire is simply gone. No char, no smoke, no heat damage. Firefighters find nothing. That was not the first strange thing to happen in that house, and it would not be the last. Allen and Deborah Tallmann moved into their home on Larrabee Street in Horicon in the mid-1980s with their young children. By most accounts, it was an unremarkable house in an unremarkable neighborhood. The trouble, according to the family, started in late 1987, shortly after they brought home a secondhand bunk bed purchased from a local secondhand store. Deborah Tallmann later described an escalating series of events. The children fell frequently and inexplicably ill. Doors opened and closed on their own. Family members reported hearing a radio turn on by itself, playing a song, then silence. The children began waking in the night, visibly frightened, describing a figure they called the witch standing in the room. Allen Tallmann described a specific incident from early 1988. He was alone in the house when he heard a voice, deep, and according to him, clearly not human, telling him to get out. He said the experience was not ambiguous. He left the house and waited outside. He was a factory worker, not someone inclined, by his own description, to talk about things like this. The garage fire incident, the one with no physical trace, was reported to local authorities in early 1988. Firefighters who responded found no evidence of burning, no scorched wood, no residue, no heat damage to any surface. The Tallmanns had multiple witnesses for the visible flames. The official fire department response essentially concluded there was nothing to investigate. By February 1988, the Tallmanns contacted a local priest, who visited the home and reportedly declined to elaborate publicly on what he found there. They also reached out to researchers connected to the University of Wisconsin. The family was described by neighbors and those who knew them as credible, stable, and not people who sought attention. They appeared, by accounts at the time, genuinely frightened. The family ultimately left the house in the spring of 1988. They did not sell it quietly, they were direct about why they were leaving. Allen Tallmann gave interviews to local Wisconsin press and was later featured on the NBC program Unsolved Mysteries in an episode that aired in 1988. He maintained his account consistently and stated he had no interest in profiting from the story. Paranormal researchers who reviewed the case noted the consistent detail across independent accounts from family members. No investigator publicly produced evidence of hoaxing. The bunk bed was eventually discarded, and according to the family, the activity stopped entirely after it was removed. Subsequent owners of the Larrabee Street house have not, on public record, reported similar phenomena. The skeptical explanation centers on stress-induced perception, possible carbon monoxide issues causing hallucinations, and the well-documented human tendency to cluster unrelated events into a coherent narrative. Those explanations cover a lot. They don't cleanly account for the corroborated fire with no physical trace, or the consistent independent accounts from multiple family members describing the same specific figures and voices. The Tallmann house on Larrabee Street still stands. The family moved on and largely stepped away from public attention after 1988. What happened there, if anything beyond ordinary misfortune and perception, remains unresolved. The case sits in a category that comes up often in documented reports, too consistent to dismiss easily, too limited in physical evidence to confirm. So what do you think? Is there a rational explanation, or is something else going on? Drop a comment below, and if you've had an encounter of your own, we want to hear about it. Subscribe to WT Historical for more documented cases from the edge of history.